Hello?
Hey, Ross.
Hey, man. Who is this?
It's me.
Mike, from Goodnight Groofs. You literally saved my contact in your phone like that.
I save a lot of contacts in my phone for a lot of reasons, but what's up?
Well, you said you wanted to collaborate a few weeks ago and then never messaged me back.
We will get there when we get
Oh,
there.
yeah. That's wild, dog.
Dude! Are you even paying attention?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just busy.
Okay. Well, do you want to make that video? Ross!
Oh, God. Sorry. I'm in the middle of something, man.
What are you doing?
I'm rewatching the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I mean, it's not the best, but it's really good in spite of how it could have turned out.
That's perfect. I know what we can make a video about.
Sonic is so funny.
Why did I agree to this?
Games are the ultimate form of media. They not only bring every other type of media under the umbrella of a singular product, but they have an edge on everything else by being interactable. You can always listen to an amazing orchestral piece on its own, and it'll be amazing, but what if you start to hear an amazing orchestral piece in the middle of a climactic boss fight that is acting as the crescendo of an emotional journey that took every ounce of strength and willpower to get to? You'd probably feel slightly more invested, right? Same for everything else. Video games can't help but deliver more impactful versions of other art forms due to the inherent nature of the medium. You can watch a movie about someone going on a walk up a mountain, but if you're the one who physically guides the protagonist to their destination, it'll stick with you. Watching the emotional struggle our favorite characters go through is more genuine when you have a hand in how that journey plays out. That's why I think video game to film adaptations are interesting to say the least.
Don't forget about TV adaptations.
Well, I thought they'd kind of fit in the same category, but yeah.
I mean, TV adaptations are a long-form media, so they're arguably more suitable for a video game adaptation than film. But sure, they're the same. So, film and TV video game adaptations. We all know that 9 times out of 10, they have a tendency to be really awful. Sometimes it's a good kind of awful, like the old Super Mario Brothers movies. But if it's not a cult classic like that, or even the Street Fighter movie, it's a Doom featuring The Rock, not to mention the old Mortal Kombat movies. Films that are just so awful at conveying the point of their source material that they were all massive failures at the box office. And you'd think that we would have learned to not just fart out video game adaptations in the present day, yet terrible things keep happening to us. Look at Welcome to Raccoon City, an absolute slap in the face to anyone who calls themselves an RE fan.
Oh yeah, I mean, despite clearly wanting to cash in on the series' recent resurgence, the studio seemed unwilling to approach a film reboot with the same care that Capcom took rebooting the games, instead begging for credit simply for including familiar visuals for fans to maybe latch onto. In short, this might aesthetically resemble Resident Evil, but any meaningful comparisons stop right there.
Wow, that was profound. Nice job, dude.
Oh, I didn't write that. Thanks, Elliott.
Who?
Don't worry about it. Anyway, do you have a point with all of this?
Well, with games, there are several different things to keep your attention on, right? You have mechanics, design, art, music, voice acting, gameplay as a whole. An adaptation to a static screen, no matter how good, has no hope of making you feel the things you do when you're a part of that experience.
Right, and arguably most of these adaptations have been quickly made cash grabs that attempt to capitalize on the success of a franchise and turn a profit for some sort of cheap brand recognition alone.
So, have you seen Halo?
Talk about cheap brand recognition. Man, I tried to watch it, I really did. It felt like such a weird disregard for the source material the entire way through. The way Chief was portrayed felt really wrong to me. Like, this dude isn't Master Chief. Coming off the heels of one of my favorite depictions of him in Infinite, this was just hard to sit through. And why the hell were they using generic-ass AK-47s? Where are the SMGs and the Magnums?
I've said it countless times to my friends, family, random people at the grocery stores. Halo should have either either been a faithful rendition of John's story or it should have been a story in the Halo universe. I feel like the show is repeating similar pitfalls that the games have fallen into, a reliance on Master Chief to pull an audience. I don't know why either. They've proven that a chiefless Halo game, Halo Reach, can have a captivating story. The Halo universe is interesting and fun. Spartan lore is fascinating. The Forerunners intriguing. There's so much to go with, and they decide Master Chief, but not really Master Chief, more like Master Cheeks. But the funny thing is, the things that they get right, Dr. Halsey, the other Spartans, that's what the show should have been about. It just
sucks, dude, I know, but I think it sucks more because of how adaptations could be being used.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so most people who try to play video games for the first time suck at them, right?
I mean, speak for yourself.
I make up for my past incompetence by playing every first playthrough on hard difficulty now, thank you very much, but I'm talking about even with the relatively basic stuff. Like, I'm not the only one who's heard a coworker who isn't super into video games say something like, "Oh yeah, I loved playing Crash Bandicoot when I was younger," but you can tell that what they actually mean is they tried to play Crash when they were a dumb kid by running forward and repeatedly falling down the first bottomless pit. And that's understandable. If you've never played a game before, it's tough. Now, imagine something like this being your first game. It would probably take you hours to just get past the first combat encounter. And that's if you don't quit and go back to watching Yellowstone or Euphoria or whatever the kids watch these days. But that is such a sad thought to me because Control has such an entertaining narrative.
Oh, okay. So you hate that people who don't have the skills necessary to play video games have to miss out on the stories that they can tell. Wait, but isn't that what Let's Plays are for? And speaking of Let's Plays,
Bad Mike. Stop it. Plug your at the end. Let's Plays are fine, but not everyone wants to watch two 20-somethings shout at each other while they poorly play a video game. For the non-Let's Play audience, there's a whole swath of players that would enjoy the story of certain games. But due to things like difficulty, genre, or in a case of games like Returnal, availability of a PS5, these stories are out of reach. I know this kind of player exists because I've seen it firsthand. My partner Kelly loves video games, but she loves a specific type of video game. She's beaten Oxenfree a few times now. I don't want to know how many hours she's sunk into Animal Crossing. I think The Sims is an even bigger addiction than that. She loves playing Pikmin Bloom when we walk our dog, and she cried in the first episode of Telltale's The Walking Dead. She likes stories and relaxed experiences, but can't get the hang of something more action-focused. I tried to get her to have an experience with The Last of Us. She gave it her best shot and was even enjoying it for a time, but games eventually have to ramp up the challenge. Unfortunately, she didn't do too well, even on the easiest difficulty. She would give the controller to me and ask if I could get her past a certain part, but after having to hand it off after a few attempts at every combat encounter, I don't blame her for losing interest after a while. And that's where I think film adaptations can help close this gap. She's actually excited to sit down with me and see the story unfold without having to rely on me to advance the story for her, which is really cool.
Yeah, for sure. That's great that general audiences can look forward to the stories that we all know and love, but what if the adaptation misses the mark? What about the Uncharted movie that just came out? Would you call that a good representation of that franchise?
Well, those games are kind of lame to begin with, so...
I already know you have good taste, Ross. Focus. For those who actually enjoy that franchise, do you think they're happy with how it was converted to the big screen?
Well, that's the thing, right? If the people who make the movie know what they're doing, then it shouldn't be a problem.
True. If the filmmakers understand the appeal of the game series, it not only has a better chance of resonating with their target audience, the sweaty nerds who go see a video game movie on opening night, but also the general audiences who make up the majority of the film's initial box office sales.
Exactly. Jeff Fowler, the director of the first and second Sonic the Hedgehog movies, constantly reassures fans that we aren't following the timeline of the mainline entries in the movies, but rather he's introducing characters as we go along that are necessary to the story that he's telling at that point, which is a great way to let everyone win. The sweaty nerds get to see Shadow in his stasis pod on the Ark from Adventure 2, the general audiences get to ask questions and potentially get more invested. Oh, and you'd have to be actively trying to screw up an Uncharted movie. The games are just movies.
And yet they still did. But the lack of drive to finish a video game doesn't have to be the only reason why you couldn't experience the story. What about people with accessibility troubles using the film adaptations as a way to go through the narrative?
This is a good point. There are standout cases like Psychonauts 2. Its library of accessibility options can help players with less skill get through the story comfortably and on their own terms. Features like narrative combat allows for players to focus on the story and stop worrying about not being able to make it through combat encounters. But this begs the question. Would a Psychonauts television series be a better approach to this?
I've never really thought of a Psychonauts TV show, but now that you've mentioned it, I want one. I love the art style. Its cartoonish nature is perfect for one of those Saturday morning cartoons, and the thought of a show focused on mental health would be really beneficial to younger audiences. This is such a good idea. You should tweet this at Phil Spencer. But good ideas aside, back to your question. I don't know that a TV series would be better than accessibility options in Psychonauts 2. I want to say no, because the game allows you so much more nuanced storytelling through exploration. Additionally, learning the lessons of consent, compassion, and mental health while playing as Raz is completely different from watching Raz. When you play the game, the mistakes Raz makes throughout the stories become your mistakes, and it makes moments when you see consequences that much more impactful. I wouldn't replace the accessibility options with a TV show, rather I'd want to supplement the game with a TV series. What about you?
I think you're on the right track there. Going through a character's journey by watching the events play out on a screen is a decent enough way to get the story. But the best way to get the story is to guide them through those struggles with your own hands. Unfortunately, I think the whole situation is a little more nuanced than a simple yes or no. The reason games are such unique vessels for storytelling is because you have the time to tell interesting stories that aren't necessarily main story material. Games hide additional material off the beaten path all the time. This content might not be integral, but it almost always shows us different sides of our characters, side quests that flesh out the world or the inhabitants of the world as well. But not every piece of side content is worth showing to the audience, right? A lot of the time, side objectives fall into the territory of just being side content. Elden Ring.
I'm getting enough hate in your Elden Ring videos comment section. Can we keep the dislike ratio for this video in the positive, please?
Sorry, not sorry. The truth hurts sometimes, but who's to say what content is worth inclusion for these adaptations? Like, I can think of several great side quests in games that would be so sad if they didn't get included in a hypothetical adaptation to the big screen.
True, but sometimes these movies are just doomed from the start, you know?
I mean, more often than not, yeah, video game movies are going to suck. They're usually just put on the production line to get brand recognition sales, and that's really it. There are exceptions to the rule where the people involved genuinely want to put something out that can appeal to the gaming audiences as well as a general audience. But then you have instances like the aforementioned Halo show where the director flat out says that he ignored almost every bit of information from the games. It was mentioned in this article that it was part of an effort to give the creative team freedom to come up with a new story, but he also mentions that he's just really unfamiliar with video games in general, so this didn't tell me anything except they got the wrong guy to make a show about a popular video game franchise.
Maybe you didn't hear what I had said. Video games are doomed from the start. Like the game Doom became a movie, which was bad. Nothing. All right.
Yeah, the joke was pretty bad, Mike. I got it.
I mean, sometimes they get it right, though. I don't want to end on such a sour note. What about Sonic? It's pretty great, and Sonic 2 was awesome. They legitimately have taken the movies and given them the feeling of the source material. Maybe it's not the truest to form of the games, but they're fun, fast, and childish, which is exactly what you want from a Sonic movie, in my opinion.
No, you're 100% right. As the resident Sonic idiot, I love both of the movies. I'm extremely happy with how they came out, and they're only performing as well as they are because so many people came together to keep Sonic himself as the star of the show, and I mean, who could hate Sonic?
I don't know. He's a blue hedgehog that runs fast and eats chili dogs. Hating this character is simply illogical. But seriously, what I hope is that these movies set a standard for any subsequent video game adaptations. Capturing the spirit of the game should be of the utmost importance. It's like what you said with Halo. The director was unfamiliar with video games in general. If you capture the spirit of the games, the odds at least go up for you to have a good adaptation. All I hope is that the Mario movie understands this lesson.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I want to give a huge thank you to Mike from Goodnight Groofs for joining me on this one. Mike's stunning looks caught my eye from afar long ago, so I was elated when he asked me if I wanted to make a video together. Mike, why don't you tell the nice people where they can find you?
Thanks for having me, Ross. This was a lot of fun. Anytime I get to talk about Sonic with someone who seems to love that hedgehog as much as me is time well spent. If you want to see more of me or any of the other Goodnight Groofs, I promise they're better looking than I. You can check out our YouTube channel linked below. We do video game reviews as well as weekly Let's Play episodes. Currently we're playing Elden Ring, but we have some Valheim and Dark Souls playthroughs as well. We also have podcasts titled Replay and Game Groofs that can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically any podcast platform. We also have a Twitch channel. Basically, if you Google Goodnight Groofs, you'll find us. Thanks again, Ross. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely, anytime, Mike. But anyway, I appreciate you all for watching, so thanks for stopping by and have a great day.